are back. This is the Marketer of the Day podcast. We have Mark Savant here, who I was so impressed by seeing his posts on LinkedIn. I invited him to the show, checked him out on YouTube, saw his Podfest talk, and we're just going to have this conversation about AI, automation, human power, podcasting, content creation, all the above. So, Mark, glad to be speaking with you.
Thrilled to be here, brother.
All right. So what is on your mind? You're from Mark, is it Savant or savantmedia.com? What is the current cutting edge? What's your current passion and focus?
Current passion and focus is automation. How can I automate more steps in my workflows, from email marketing to podcast production to outreach? I've been in podcasting since about 2018, 2019. I produced thousands of episodes for myself and for clients. And, the number one reason why people stop doing this stuff is because it takes up too much time. And all those posts you see on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on YouTube, all that stuff, it takes me 30 minutes a week. And I'm just a huge fan of saving time. We only got one life. We cannot go back in time. So let's make the use out of what we got.
I love it. And you think about the people that we follow, right? You think about like the Tim Ferrisses and the Gary V's, like we've probably only seen like 1-2% of all the stuff they've put out there. So like you said, life is short. We have to put out enough content where it's all good and we keep with it and it helps people. But then there's that matter of context switching, right? Where if you had to do things the old way, you'd have to make all the different social posts, make all the different blog posts, make all the different clips. So life is short and we need to focus on what matters most. And what I like a lot about what you have to say is that it doesn't have to be techie, right? We're always inching closer to that singularity where we have all these powerful tools and all the apps and all the AI, but then there's that fear that, well, I'm going to have to be a software engineer, programmer, learn all these things, but it's like inching closer to kind of the more user friendliness, ease of use. So, I mean, tell me about what's possible. Like we sometimes hear about the Zapier and the Chat GPT and the Cast Magic, but what blows your mind these days? What should we be focused on as far as the podcasting, the content? What should we be doing?
Well, you're right. You don't need to be a software engineer. You don't need to have a graduate degree from MIT to use this stuff. In fact, I would argue that if you're not automating processes, if you're not using AI in your workflows, if you're not empowering your team with AI, you're probably going to be bankrupt within the next several years. You're just not going to be able to compete. You're just not going to be able to. I'm sorry. It's just the world we live in. You've got companies, organizations like the World Economic Forum saying, hey, within the next 7 years, we're going to displace 60% of the jobs. Walmart is automating 63% of their stores. Within 2 years, they're going to automate 63% of their stores. So we got to get into this. I was talking to a guy who is developing McDonald's all across the nation. And he said, Mark, they're developing AI technology so that when you drive through the drive-through and it hears your voice, it's going to know exactly who you are. It's going to know what you order. It's going to know exactly how to upsell you. And this is going to scale out across every industry. And within the next 3 years, and you call someone on the phone, you're going to be begging to speak to a robot, because as soon as the robot hears your voice, as soon as it knows the ping from your cell phone, it's going to know exactly how to serve you. It's going to know the program you're in. So again, this is the world we're living in. It's not going to happen overnight. But if you're not starting to develop these workflows and systems now, it's going to be too late. You're going to be dead. You're going to be DOA, and you're not going to be able to compete. So I just want to kind of at least frame why this is important before we start talking about some practical, specific stuff that we can do in our daily life.
All right. Well, yeah. So, that's helpful, right? To do the framing, because you sometimes if you pay attention to like the news and the hooks, right? And the things that get you to pay attention, there's the start and there's not the finish, right? They tell you, well, the jobs are going to be replaced by AI, but they don't really say, okay, well, what can I do now? Or how can that help me? And so it seems like what you're saying here is that it's about the personalization, right? If you go to that drive-through and maybe they read your license plate, they hear your voice, you use an app, they know, they have your history, and they can kind of make these different connections. And so when you do have the podcast or have a guest on your show, and then they turn it into a blog post or turn it into social media content, it's like you're kind of repurposing this content to be helpful for other people who maybe are like, learn in a certain way, or need help in a certain way, or need to get this information at the right time. And so, so like you mentioned a little bit about how you help these clients, right? You've worked on thousands of podcasts, and so what do you think we're missing the mark these days as far as the podcast? Is it the not doing fast enough, not having the team, not having the tools? Like, what do we need help with these days with podcasts?
Well, I mean, there's all sorts of problems that business owners run into when it comes to podcast production, everything from messaging to time of day to hooks. Um, I think it's contextual. I think probably the number one mistake that people make is not having the systems in place to save the time. Like I said, I'm able to produce content for every platform in 30 minutes a day, 30 minutes a week. 30 minutes a week, I can be everywhere, and I think that's important. And to your point, there's all these cool tools like Cast Magic and even Riverside. We're recording in Riverside right now, which is going to automatically create like a dozen clips that you can share across social media. Love all that stuff. It's great. But what I'm trying to think about now is, how can I convert a podcast? How can I convert information into sales? At the end of the day, that's what we want. We want to make more money. We want to return on our resources. And when I talk to a business owner who says, Mark, I love what you're doing, but I don't know how to get started with AI. And my first answer to them is, listen, there's so many different tools out there. Just start to get focused on one. And I think probably for me, ChatGPT is probably one of the most practical tools. It's everyone can use it. It's easy to automate. It integrates with all sorts of softwares using a program like Zapier. And ChatGPT is the industry standard. It's got like an 80 billion net worth. It's making deals with Microsoft and the big seven. So ChatGPT is not going anywhere. There's all these up and comers. You got, Gemini, you've got Claude E, you've got Grok. But I think that sticking with one of those programs is better than testing all of them. And I think ChatGPT is a great place to start. And if you like, we can get into some frameworks that you can implement in your business that can start to leverage ChatGPT in interesting ways.
I like it. And let's get into that in a moment. And so I'm just kind of digesting your points here. And you're saying that we need to go deep instead of shallow, right? And I know friends like this, and it drives me crazy when they say, oh, have you heard about this tool or that app? And I think, okay, I have to drop what I'm doing in order to give this attention. And I like what you say as far as like use one tool really well. Like I've been using ChatGPT since almost the day it came out, just for like all sorts of fun. And even before we met here, I looked you up. I found your recent Podfest talk. I dumped out the transcript. I put it in ChatGPT. I said, give me the top 15 lessons that Mark had to say. So that way I would be a little bit pre-educated about what you had to say. And as the text was creating, I was kind of like watching your video at the same time. So it was like a learning tool, not a replacement tool. And so kind of with all that, kind of me digesting what you said and that sort of set up, like when you say frameworks, like what does that mean? And what sort of framework should we be looking into or thinking about?
Sure. So, and by the way, one of the cool things you can do while taking that transcript, whether it's from a podcast that you did or someone else did, or for a blog article, for a book, is you can ask it to reformat in different ways, like create a table, create this is an interesting tip, is you can ask it to reformat information in a comma delimited format, a CSV format, and which can easily be uploaded to a spreadsheet. So you can create spreadsheets, tables, lists, outlines. You can have it reformatted into a story. There's a lot of cool things you can do. You can even say, hey, summarize the concepts in this podcast, or summarize the concepts in this podcast, for example, based on the concepts from Donald Miller's Story Brand, or Alex Hormozzi's $100 million offers, or Russell Brunson's Traffic Secrets, right? Reformatting in, because it's read, ChatGPT has read all these books. It knows all the concepts from these books. You can ask it to reformat different information into those types of formats, which is cool. But what really fascinates me these days, now that we've kind of said, okay, ChatGPT is cool, we've started to use it, is, how do we automate ChatGPT into our workflows? And I think one of the best ways to do that is with Zapier. Zapier integrates with all sorts of programs, everything from Slack to Monday to Go High Level to HubSpot to basically whatever, Gmail, Google Cloud, like you name a software, Zapier can automate it. And ChatGPT can also integrate and can do some powerful things. But the key there The key to getting good output is giving ChatGPT good input, prompt engineering, right? And one of the ways that you can get good input at scale is using forms. Okay. That can be a Google form. It could be a type form. It could be people that input information into your calendar, because what you're doing is you're asking a specific question and you're getting a specific answer. And this is infinitely scalable. And as you get that input from the people that are giving you those answers, you can send it over to ChatGPT, and ChatGPT can use that input because it's all in a organized fashion with question and answer. Then you could repurpose that in all sorts of ways, from blogs to emails to just all kinds of stuff. It's amazing.
I agree, and I you're blowing my mind because there's a little bit of an overlap of what I know, but there's always new things, right? It's impossible for one person to know all these different kind of aspects of how to use it, and so I have to admit I'm not using the forms going into Chat GPT as much as I should, right? As far as the shaping the input, that way you get the output that you want. And as far as the content creation, some kind of like a mental hang up I have sometimes is I kind of see the output as being kind of cheap, right? When I like upload like a transcript or some kind of like video or something to ChatGPT, and I say make me like a LinkedIn blog post and it gives me something, I'm just like, I feel like I need to edit this. I feel like I need to change this. So do you have similar hangups? Do you feel like you need to kind of go back and forth with the output sometimes, or is it like because it's so easily obtained, you like assign less value to it? Do you have the same problem?
Well, so I think there's two things that are important there, Robert. The first of which is the better we train ChatGPT, the better the output. And so for example, when you first put together a prompt or you first start to train, quote unquote, ChatGPT, let's say you're getting 40% to your final product. Okay. But over time, as you start to create better and better prompts, you can get closer to that 100% all done, ready to ship. You know what I'm saying? So maybe it
Oh
starts
yeah.
at 40 and you keep integrating and iterating to get to that final product. A. B, you're going to need human help, whether that's maybe you have an assistant or team member, or even better yet, it's the person who actually filled out the form. I'm going to give you a perfect example, something I used this week. I was very impressed with the final product. So I do a lot of media production, videography work. I've got thousands and thousands of dollars worth of camera equipment, audio, video equipment. And so I said, you know what I'd like to do is start going to local businesses for a half day. We'll shoot video, we'll shoot audio. I'll send it over to my team. They'll produce a month, 2 months, 3 months worth of content off of that one half day of shooting. Okay. One of the hangups though is that, okay, before I get there, I'm going to need to create scripts. I'm going to need to create outlines. I'm going to need to do all this stuff. I said, why don't, instead of I doing all that work, let me have the client do all that work. Let me leverage ChatGPT. So I put together a form and I sent it out to a business owner. And I said, just fill out the information here. It's stuff like, what is your business? Who do you serve? What are your core competencies? What makes you different? Mission statement, all that stuff that's important for business owners to know. And every business owner does know to an extent. Sends it over to Chat based on the response in that form, sent it over to ChatGPT. ChatGPT wrote out scripts of 5 different videos, right? The first video is about the business, about the founder, who it's for, videos that every website should have. Every website should have these types of explainer videos, okay? ChatGPT writes out the script for every video, and then it gives us an idea for 20 different short style videos that we could post. So for example, one of the shorts videos would be like, one reason why you should be in Irish dancing, misconceptions about Irish dancing, etc. Types the whole thing up, adds it to Gmail, and then as a draft, all I need to do is hit go. It sends out the email to the business owner. The business owner gets it and she's like, okay, I'm going to start memorizing and adjusting these scripts today. So when I show up on scene, she already knows exactly what to say. She's made a few adjustments. I haven't done the work. She's done the work. She's made the adjustments. All I got to do is set up my camera equipment, hit record, and we're good to go. An hour later, we have tons and tons of video content. I didn't need to write the scripts. I didn't need to do any of the creative. That's all done on the front end, and then the customer adjusts. And I got to tell you, Robert, it was awesome. The content was unbelievable. Unbelievable. I didn't have to do anything. It's all automated. And that's, my friend, what we want to be doing at scale.
I love it. And what's great about what you mentioned here is like, sure, there are a few things to figure out, like, oh, which like form service should I use, or how do I do the prompt engineering? But that can all be, you can ask Chat GPT from that, or like even better, you and your team can do that sort of thing, right? And so you're definitely like making me think about, okay, I need to use this whole form concept and hooking into Chat GPT better and figuring out like, okay, well, if this is like a 15-step process, right? If I have to go to someone's website and figure out the types of videos to make and write all that and put it in a Gmail draft, like maybe I can figure out, think about what are those steps and figure out how to remove some of those steps using Zapier and using ChatGPT and just get it as close as possible to, it's never 100% fully automated, but get it kind of where it's like more push button, where something that might have taken you like 2 weeks takes 20 minutes instead. And so I'm definitely not here just to mine you for information, right? We've got some cool tips, some cool stories, but I also want to focus on you as a person and as a company. So do you have a fun story to share with us? Just like a fun like success story or case study that kind of tells us what you're all about.
Oh, geez. I mean, I just want to kind of overserve, I suppose. I run this agency. I'm managing shows for about a dozen clients, and I was thinking of a way to like provide better service to those clients, just for free. How can I give better service for free? How can I create more win-win situations? As business owners, we want to find win-wins. So I said, well, this is an interesting idea. Talking about automations. As soon as I finish recording a podcast, okay, I send it over to I fill out a form, sends it to my team. My team does all the production, okay? But at the end of that production step, I said, hey, team, at the end of this production, I want you to fill out an additional form. That form is going to have the guest name, the guest email. It's going to have links to the blog on the website. It's going to have links to the YouTube video. I want you to put several links in there, okay? And then after that's completed, what happens after they hit go? It starts off another automation, Robert. You know I'm all about these automations. So it sends out starts an automation in my CRM, and in that automation, it's going to send out a sequence of about 4 to 5 emails to that guest. The first email is, "Hey, the show's live. Here's a link to it. Make sure to share it out with your email list and your audience." Okay. A few days later, the next email goes out. "Hey, by the way, the YouTube video is getting views. If you were to leave a like and a comment, that's going to help us reach about 100 to 500 more people." The next email goes out a few days later. "Here's a link to all the graphics and all the video. Feel free to do with it. Feel free to share it if you like." Boom. And then the final email is, "Hey, if you'd like us to do the same thing for you, we can." Right. So again, by filling out that form, it sets out a sequence of automations that are customized to that guest. And I've had success with that. I'm getting more shares. I'm saving time. I'm reaching more people. I said, why can't I do the same thing for my clients? So I reached out to all my clients and said, hey, if you like, I want to save you time. We can send out these emails to your guests after the show goes live. 4 or 5 of my clients are like, sounds great, do it. So my team started filling out these forms at the end. And what does it do? It sends out a pre-approved email, because I want to make sure all my correspondences are approved by my clients. Sends out a pre-approved email to those guests of that show. So now I'm saving my client time because they don't have to deal with all that post-production follow-up. Saving them time. They're getting more downloads. I'm helping the guest because now the guest is getting all this free stuff. They're getting automations. And third, I'm helping me and my company because now that guest is saying, oh, this was a good experience. Mark and his company did all this. Maybe I can, maybe they're a good fit for me. So creating more win-win-win solutions using automation, using AI, using tech, that I think is where every business owner should be thinking right now because it's very approachable and it makes a difference.
And is it fair to say that maybe it takes a little bit of mental work to tap into this mindset? Because I love your way of thinking, right? I love your thinking that, well, there's like in my mind, in my imagination, there's like boxes and lines and arrows and someone's moving across a map as these things are happening, right? As the message saying, hey, our YouTube video is getting views, or that's saying, hey, here's some graphics. And so like, even if someone is a client of yours, they still have to kind of wrap their head around some of these ideas of what you're doing, right? And so, like, do you have any advice as far as getting your heads wrapped around this kind of sequence funnel type mindset?
Well, it takes time. Just like I had mentioned earlier before, if we start using ChatGPT, we're at 10% efficiency, but we just try to be a little bit better every day. Experience pays off. And, the larger your business grows, the more problems that you get to solve, right? When I first started my agency as a little side hustle, if I was going to sign up for a $20 software, a $20 monthly software, I was like, oof, $20 a month. This is a lot. Now I'm dropping $100, $200 a month on software just to see how is this going to work. If it works, great. If not, that's cool. I can scrap and try another thing. So I think we all start somewhere when it comes to solving these problems. The more problems you solve, the newer problems you're going to get. So I'm just constantly trying to solve bigger problems, save more time for me and my clients, get a better result. And I think that's where it starts. It's very easy to get overwhelmed with all the things to do, but just focus on that one problem for the day. Get into that mental zone. Okay, for the next 2-3 hours, I'm going to solve this problem. And then afterwards, you take a little break, and then you get back after it. So, it's all about problem solving and surrounding yourself with other people that are trying to solve those types of problems.
I like that. That's very helpful. It's the entrepreneurial mindset, right? Of being eager to solve problems, but also knowing that when you solve problem A, it'll lead to problem B, which is even bigger. And then that leads to problem C, which is an even more complex problem, but that's okay. That's just part of the process. And you're saying that some other things, good mindsets are to just be a few percentage points better every day, to not work out on it alone, work on it with your team, and then also time block some of these sort of focus sessions and just put your brain to work on solving these problems, and to maybe have fun with some of these tools. And because there's so many fun tools, right? Like Opus, and for example, like you can just start off like, Descript. You start off with a little bit of a tiny monthly fee and start to use it, and then as you use it more, it's more fun and addicting. You get results. Next thing you know, you're dropping $200 a month on these services, but it's okay because you are getting the output. And like you mentioned earlier, there's the doing and the kind of the scientific input and output and study, but it needs to lead to making money. So you make money, you grow your business bigger, and then it kind of it works out and makes for a more fun feedback loop. And so you've given us a lot of ideas and some cool little micro stories and things like that. And so how does someone know if they're a right fit for you and this kind of these podcasting, AI, traffic content services? Like, how does someone know if they're the right fit for you? And if they are, what's the next step? What's the call to action?
Shoot me an email, mark@marksavantmedia.com. mark@marksavantmedia.com. I'd love to hear about the problems that you're trying to solve now, and I'd love to help you solve those problems. mark@marksavantmedia.com.
I love it. mark@marksavantmedia.com. And is there like a right problem to have? Or like if someone has something that's way too out in left field, is that too weird? Like, how does someone know if it's a problem that you would be interested in?
Well, I mean, the best thing to do is just to reach out, mark@marksavantmedia.com. I mean, it's funny. I was at a mastermind group. This is about a year ago or so. And we were just taking turns going around the room and just sharing, hey, what's a problem that you're dealing with this week? And one of the people shared, there's this iguana that keeps pooping on my porch and I don't know how to deal with it. It keeps coming on my porch, keeps crapping on my porch. I know it. And it was funny to me because the leader of the group was kind of like, it's just an iguana. Nobody cares about that. But listen, if an iguana is crapping on your porch and that's the problem that you have, that's the problem we need to solve. So whereas I can't maybe solve every problem, at the very least, I can point you to someone that can solve that problem.
Wonderful. I love it. Well, I appreciate you being a conversationalist and being an eager problem solver. And as people are sending that quick email to mark@marksavantmedia.com, do you have any final parting words of advice? Do you have like a kind of a tip that's not shared enough? Or do you have a favorite quote or lesson? Just what do you have? Since we're all about the AI and the sound bites and making the clips, what do you have that's soundbite newsworthy for us to end our conversation? What do you have just to finish this up?
If you're not experimenting with AI and tech today, you're going to be dead in 4 years. Your business will not exist. You need to start experimenting with AI and tech now before it's too late.
Very nice. Well, let's get to experimenting as we send that message to Mark at marksavantmedia.com. Thank you, Mark, for being a good sport. I know I just kind of came to you unsolicited on LinkedIn, but I liked your content that much. Just wanted to have the quick conversation, find out what you're about, and then send people your way if what you said resonates and makes sense with them. So Mark at marksavantmedia.com is the email to send. And it's been lovely speaking with you, Mark.
Robert, my pleasure.
All right. Super.